Okay, councillors, can you take your seats, please? Okay, good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone here for this final council meeting of the triennium. I declare the council meeting CL25/13 open and welcome everyone here. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and the consequences of that. I shall start with our karakia. Whakatau, mai te wara, whakawātea, mai te hinanaro, whakarite, mai te tinana, kia ea, ai ngā mahi. Ai. I have apologies, or no, I'm going to note that Councillor Granger and Councillor Wickers are on leave of absence. I don't see there's any other apologies. And whilst we're doing that, I also want to introduce Brad Singh, who is our...
just before you do, could I apologise for Councillor Ray for lateness?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, yes. We'll come to that. Anyway, I want you to introduce Brad Singh, who is our new GM for infrastructure. So welcome, you're very welcome here, and I look forward to hopefully working with you in the future. Yeah. Anyway, so I thank you, Councillor Murray Bench, for highlighting. Councillor Ray, you do you want to move for lateness, and Councillor Joyce seconds. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. There are no late items. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? No, okay. There are no public excluded items, so move on to item number 8, which is our public forum, and I have former Mayor Gary Webber to speak to us.
Morning all. Mayor James, councillors, Chief Executive Miriam, staff, people of the treaty and the press. You all know me, I hope, but I'm here today to voice my concerns with the 2024-25 annual report. But before I launch into that, a bit of background. Firstly, the role of a local government CEO is well defined in the Local Government Act 2002, and I quote, "Under New Zealand Local Government Act 2000, the Chief Executive is appointed by the Council and is responsible for the operational management and administration of the local authority. Key roles include implementing council decisions, advising elected members, managing council staff and budgets, ensuring efficient and effective service delivery, and maintaining systems for planning and financial reporting." That's what the Chief Executive is supposed to be doing. Secondly, on pages 53 to 57 of the June 2025 Council paper, it identified a number of financial mistakes and issues arising from executive level decisions that caused concern at the governance level. I contend that the quantum of those issues, they would have arisen at least 2 years before they were reported. That's my opinion. And thirdly, based on my experience, I know how much time and effort is required to develop an annual plan. And therefore it is reasonable to suggest that the annual plan for the 25-26 year began in early to mid 2024. Finally, the Western Bay of Plenty senior leadership team in past triennia has been recognised for its excellence. That excellence being demonstrated by them receiving the Baldridge Gold Award for Excellence many years ago, and by consistently achieving top placements in the Australasian Local Government Senior Leadership Challenge. That track record of success raises an important question. What has changed in the last 3 years that led to the departure of several highly skilled, respected and experienced senior staff members, particularly from the finance team? Furthermore, what impacted those losses? or did the loss of that expertise have on the mistakes referenced in the June 2025 report that I referenced to earlier? So my concern with the annual report, like its previous two reports, makes no mention whatsoever of the significant financial mistakes, and they're referenced to having some significance in the report, as set out in the 2025 council paper. In my opinion, those mistakes should have been picked up by the CEO, who is responsible for, and I quote once again from the Local Government Act, but more detail, under planning and reporting. Planning and reporting, the CEO maintains systems to enable effective planning and accurate financial and service performance for the local authority. My question then about the annual report is, most importantly, why has there been no mention in this report and the two previous reports of those issues? The annual report is how the ratepayers know the real goods. We don't want to hear, or we hear the highlights, but we also would like to hear the lowlights. And in the last 3 years, you've been brilliant at patting yourself on the back, but I think your head's been under the cushion when it comes to some of the issues. That is my question. Why hasn't it been reported to your public? Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any questions for Mr. Webber? So, see Councillor Thwaites.
Welcome back, Mr. Webber, Civilian. It's good to see you reading all the reports. That's great to see public out there are following it. Just your comment on the move away from 6-weekly reporting to the 3-monthly reporting, which may or may not have contributed to some of the issues you raised. What's your thoughts about that?
We haven't got much time. I'm amazed that, you know, that you're not on. I would have gone to monthly if I'd been able to run the way I would have liked. This is the thing you need to know most about. What's financially happening? It's a business you're running. It's not an old boys club. And
Councillor Murray Benj.
Mr. Webber, this is a difficult question, but I must ask it. We've had a very troubled 3 years, and until Miriam Terrace came back, it has been absolutely awful. Do you regret appointing the last CEO?
It's not a good question, but I didn't do it. As you recall, the council appoints the chief executive.
Thank you.
I think so. It was a casting vote, was it not?
No, it definitely was not.
Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and no doubt you'll stay for the annual report item. So moving on to our next items, we have a number of minutes to confirm. So starting off with the minutes for the council meeting held on 24th of July 2025, and we're basically adopting these. So I'll move those. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour seconds. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Strategy and Policy Committee meeting held on the 31st of July. I'll move those. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Murray Benj. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 5th of August. I'll move those. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Regulatory Hearings Panel meeting held on the 7th of August. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour. Councillor Murray Benj. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 15th of August. I'll move those. Councillor Henry, second. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Minutes of the Projects and Monitoring Committee meeting on the 15th of August. Councillor Thwaites, would you like to move those? Councillor Sol, second. Put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And lastly, for the minutes, minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of August. Happy to move those. Deputy Mayor Scrimger seconds. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So that takes us to item 10.1 on page 105, which is the unaudited draft annual report 24-25. So I will note with this one, it would normally come to audit, risk and finance for the sort of draft version, but timings of meetings meant we're doing it at council. So with that, I'll invite Jonathan and Sarah to come and introduce this one, please.
Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be talking through the presented draft annual report for 2025. We'll talk through some key points, some revenue expenditure, and also looking through the benchmarks. Jump to the next one. Sorry. So the annual report in front of you at the moment is a draft and unaudited annual report. Audit New Zealand have visited us twice over the last 3 or 4 months to do their interim audit. They look to return on the 22nd of September to do their final audit of about 5-week period. They have had a version of this annual report, but at this stage it is unaudited. The adoption of the annual report at this stage is documented as the 31st of October, but we're well aware of the interregnum period we're about to enter. So it is unlikely that the report will be completed by the 31st of October, which is the statutory deadline, with the first council meeting currently proposed for the 5th of November. And also to note that the annual report is subject to change through the finalisation and audit process. From the numbers in the annual report and on the agenda item today, so our revenue for 2025 is 203.9 million. Of which 51% is from rates, 7% from FinCo, and then a larger number than previous years in subsidies and grants of 55.4 million. That compared to the budget on the right-hand side in the graph is relatively similar, with our budgeted revenue being 195.9, and again, a big subsidies and grants number budgeted for in there at 60.7. In slightly more detail, we can see that the rates revenue, actual versus budget, is similar at that total level. And the subsidies and grants is particularly made up of the National Infrastructure Funding, formerly known as Crown Infrastructure Partners, of 25.1 million, and large amounts also from NZTA Waka Kotahi of 23.4. So that's the majority of the difference from the prior year, is those large subsidies and grants coming in. Our financial contributions, although similar to budget, when we look at the details shortly, we'll see that in various categories, the challenge of predicting growth is shown. This just shows the split out of our financial contribution revenue. So while at the total level is very similar to budget, we do have variances across the activities in each of their various areas as growth happens at different timings through those periods. From an expenditure perspective, we've got a total expenditure at the SOCRA level, so at our key statement of 151.6 against a budget of 140.3 million. The key parts of that, as shown in the graphs, is in our maintenance area of 43.5. So that's maintenance and reserves as well as in roading, which makes up 29%. And that's similar to the 28% as budgeted for. Our depreciation and amortization expenses are similar against budget, comparing 30 million to 29 million. And our personnel costs are lower compared to the budget, albeit slightly from 34.1 budgeted to 33.6 in our actuals. Just looking at those same numbers in the table format, and this is as presented in the SOCRA statement in the annual report itself. Our personnel costs, albeit being higher than last year, they are lower than budgeted. Depreciation, as mentioned before, is at a similar level, and our finance costs, with the benefit of slightly lower interest rates and some benefits in our interest rate swaps area, being lower than the budgeted space. Other expenses, as shown on the previous slide, is mainly in that maintenance area, which covers 40 of the 80 million. When we look at the total between the revenue and the expenditure, and net surplus or deficit at 52.3 million is significantly larger than last year. And this is primarily due to the subsidies and grants which hit our income bucket. So those are the subsidies and grants that we're using to spend on our capital expenditure from NZTA and from Crown Infrastructure Partners, as previously mentioned. Our net operating cash inflows of 83 million is very similar to budget, and again well up on last year due to those same subsidies and grants income coming in cash throughout the year. Our net investing cash flow highlights the largest capital program that we've had, with an outflow of investing on property, plant and equipment of 137.4 million against the budget of 127 million, and over double of what we achieved in the 2024 year, 59. Just to reflect again on that capital expenditure program, so 134.1 was achieved as capital expenditure in the 2025 year. And that was against the revised budget of 161, which allows for some carry forwards and brought forwards in that number, but significantly stronger than the 2024 year. In achieving this, council's debt has increased. Our net debt has gone from 104 to 157. And when we're looking at the debt drawdown on the balance sheet, it's an extra 60 million external public debt that has been used to achieve these. We're still well within our 200% debt to revenue ratio at 88% at 30 June. And as noted in previous meetings as well, council has retained its S&P AA rating with a negative outlook, which has been continued to be achieved for the past 7 years. As part of that capital program, I just highlighted 5 key projects that have been achieved through that period. We've got the Amokara roading and structure plan progress, the number 1 road in Te Puke, the replacement of the bridge on the number 4 road, also out Te Puke, the Te Ara Mātaronga at Waihe Beach, which is the new library and service centre that was actually completed early within the 2025 financial year, and also completion of our adult housing project at Huron Crescent. Looking through the benchmark reporting, which is at the early pages of the annual report, the benchmarks up on the screen have all met their benchmark levels. And I'll move to the next slide to look at the 2 further ones. So just to look at these 2 and look at the benchmarks that were not met. So with our net debt being higher than forecast, in this instance, basically the 100% line is the budgeted line. And we're showing that we're at 105%. This is predominantly due to having a significantly higher than budgeted accounts payable balance at year end. And the accounts payable balance is primarily driven to the higher capital program, with that push towards year end as well to get some projects completed. The rates increase affordability benchmark. So this is showing us that the rates increase when we remove penalties from the actual rates in the annual report. It was a 13.6% increase from the prior year against the benchmark of 9%. In the bottom right-hand corner, is the plan from the LTP. And that's showing that the black bar line through there is that 9%, which is the target metric across the 10 years. But for the first 3 years of the long-term plan, we can see that we are trending or targeting to be outside of that 9%, and 13.5% was the number for the 2025 year. So although it's a not achieved or an exceed limit benchmark in this instance, it is as planned through the long-term plan, with the average over the long-term plan still set to come below that 9% limit. I'm happy to take any questions on the annual report itself.
Thank you. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour, and then I see Councillor Joyce.
Yes, Jonathan, I noted as you were going through all those figures, be fair to say, I think that the biggest item of variance was the maintenance, which was budgeted at 69 million and came in at over 80 million. In other words, a variance of about 15%, whereas most of the other figures were relatively close. Are you able to elaborate on what caused such a blowout in that area?
So in our maintenance costs, so those are there on the screen, so the 43.5 against the 39.3. So there's a 4 million shift in that maintenance space. Then you were talking about the 80 million, is that correct?
Can you put your mic on, please?
It said 69 million budgeted maintenance and the actual spend was over 80.
So that's the bottom line on this slide here, which is our total expenditure. So within that 80 million is 43 million of maintenance, which is about 5 million up on that previous budget.
Okay.
Also included in that number is our consultant and legal fees. So that's about 4.7 million of that total as well.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Councillor Joyce.
So the timing has been a big factor. It was also a big factor in the deficit last year, right? So when you put the 2 years together, we seem to have come out ahead. You know, those subsidies obviously were time shifted by the slowness of works, particularly on Mokoroa. So that's basically more than balanced out the deficit from last year at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, from a SOCRO surplus statement, it has, yes.
Yeah, okay. It's actually, I mean, it looks very good, but it's also the debt's going up very fast. And that's because we've had a very effective operations team that's very good at doing their job. But where does most of that debt lie? Is it mostly Three Waters debt? Is, you know, which particular parts of council is that big increase coming from?
Yes, so you're correct. A lot of that debt sits in that water space. And part of the reconciliations we do is look at the internal debt profile. When we've been looking at the waters modelling, it's 95% that sits in that waters category of our external debt.
So the increase in the net debt would be both presumably a drawdown in reserves because we're catching up on work we haven't done, as well as the increase in the actual borrowings, right?
Yes, that's correct. So if we can, we will borrow internally first to keep that cost of funds down. If one part of the business has got current accounts with money in it, then as a whole of council, we'll look to use that intercompany money, if you like, first, and then borrow externally post that.
So the problem we have then is that we're having, because we've been spending so much, we have less and less of that internal borrowings now possible, right?
Yes, that's correct. And when we look to move the waters to a CCO as well, that will also provide a different structure in that space.
Right. And one other small query, which hopefully you've learned about this morning from your boss, for the support services, I noticed bizarrely, there's and I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but on page 196 for those that want to follow along, there's a negative income of nearly 5 million.
Yeah, there
How
is.
did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we set up the FIS is that line is the interest on current account and reserves. So that's basically Treasury receiving, paying that amount as income. So it has to sit in that line in the FIS to then align to the other activities which have the other side of it. So when we get to whole accounts, or they effectively
They balance
net
out.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Joyce. Councillor Henry.
I've got a question and then another one. On the campaign trail, we're hearing that the costs, council costs, a lot of them are administrative and are related to here. Do you have a comment on that in terms of staffing and what goes on to support this building and the services that we enjoy around your here?
I probably can't speak for how
Just generally.
Western Bay, I guess, compares with others. But one thing we do need to have a look at and is on our list to look at as part of AP 27 is the way that we assign those overhead costs. So we do have some more direct costs, which should sit more specifically with the activities of the business. The way we flow our overhead model down through the business can look like our support services higher when compared to others.
And the second question is more about the roading, and I realise that work needs to be done when it's able to be done, you know, during the season. Otherwise, we're just, you know, repairing after repairing. But and something that I'm very pleased to have, in fact, I clapped on the day when we realised that inside at the roading services were going to be coming back into the council to manage. And Callum's doing a great job at setting all that up. But it is something that he's reported on that it's taken, you know, I think it's 26 years, you said before, that we haven't had it in or something like that, a long period of time. So we realise, I realise that that's taking a lot of time, but there's a lot of staff that came with that. Do you, in your opinion, has that had a big impact on what we're looking in the budget?
In terms of the financials, those staff were slower to come on than what was budgeted.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So the costs probably haven't been fully reflected into that space. But when we've had, I guess, operational chats with the team, we can see that it's been more beneficial to be in-house than the previous model.
Can I ask a question now, which you may not be able to answer, but Callum might be able to? Are you fully up to staff with it?
So I do want to keep this to the annual report rather than kind of projects and monitoring kind of line of questioning, if that's where you're going.
Okay, now with the staff, or do we still have to be?
Okay, I think that's more of a different line of questioning. Councillor Coxhead.
Morning, Jonathan. Just the variance that we were talking about with the other expenses, the 80 million versus the 69. You mentioned that part of that was legal costs. Did that also include the local water done well cost for our consultants, Martin Jenkins? Was that included in there?
Yes, it will be, but that's been relatively minimal in value for money in that space in the Martin Jenkins so far.
Do we have a figure, or do you know the figure?
I don't have the figure in front of me.
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
Councillor Murray Bench.
When, Jonathan, difficult question. When Miriam arrived, things were not good. And tell me, we saved about 1.5% of the rate increase. Can you tell me where the savings were made?
So you're referring to the annual plan 27? So there was 26, thank you. There was an effort across the business. The business looked deeper, and we were challenged to come up with a set amount of savings. So to be specific and go into detail, I'd need to reflect back on the annual plan 26 savings area. But it was across the board where savings were sought.
Councillor Coxhead asked the question about the three waters, and I asked the question, where was the funding coming from, the diligence that has to be done on the three waters, and it's in the budget. Can you tell me how much money is actually in the budget for a project like that?
I think, Jonathan, I think Adele wants to answer this one.
Through the mayor, so just in terms of our local waters money, if you remember back under the previous government, there was some better off funding that was given to councils. And so we have been utilising that spend for all the costs that we've incurred to date. So there was no ratepayer funding that was actually incurred for the year ending June 30th, 2025. What we have presented to council as part of our annual plan going forward is that the costs incurred relating to the waters will be transferred to the new entity as and when it actually is established. So although we have had some costs, most of it has been accrued and it has been funded. So it's not necessarily, it hasn't been a ratepayer's cost at all.
And can I ask, sir, how much money was left from the better off funding?
Adele, you able to answer that?
In the last financial year, which is what I was talking about for the annual report, it was around about $480,000. $480,000 was left. And some of our better off funding was also put towards Heron Crescent.
I think we've also received some further monies from DIA, is that correct?
So in the current circumstances, we were trying to deliver our water services plan, and the DIA came back to any councils that were going to do a multi-council water services organisation, and for anything greater than 2 councils provided $250,000. And so when we were going through that process, there were 3 councils in that mix, of which our council received $62,000.
Thank you. I think question from me and relating to the public forum comments this morning, I note in the draft annual report that my message is blank. I haven't had the opportunity to contribute to that yet. So I think it would, noting that I did comment on issues around deficits and so on in the annual plan introduction, would it be appropriate to mention those issues in my message for the annual report?
For the annual plan 26 was that discussion, and the 4-year future discussions we've had going forward. We could certainly reflect on that as part of that messaging.
Yeah.
And it is something that audit would want to be careful with, given that this is about financial year 25, which has happened, and not to raise any just to make sure our wording aligns with the numbers that we're reporting on from an audit perspective.
It would absolutely be retrospective. It's looking backwards as an annual report is, rather than looking forward,
yes,
like an annual plan. But I think that would always been in my intention anyway. But just noting that wasn't.
Yeah,
I haven't had the opportunity to write that message yet.
Yeah, it's certainly an area we can include in that space.
Thank you. Councillor Daly.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just want to clarify Adele's answer. So are you saying that DIA would provide 200,000 for a multi-council CCO if there was 3 or more council partners, but not 2 partners?
Sorry, through the mayor, it was in relation to any multi-council 2 or more.
So
yeah, so but when we were given that money, we were in a 3 council option, and so that money was spread 3 ways.
Oh, so when did we receive that money?
In June.
Okay, I don't see any further questions. So we have 3 recommendations in front of us: to receive the report that's low significance, and to receive the unaudited draft annual report. And just to clarify, it'll come back to the an early meeting of council, next council in November. So Councillor Thwaites, would you like to move that? Okay, I'll be happy to second that. Any debate? Councillor Murray-Bench.
Sir, in all the years I've been involved in this council, I want to reflect, sir, on the issue of leadership within the council staff. We have been criticised for our annual plan and the difficulties that we were confronted with. And the statement was made that it was the whole council who actually appointed the previous CEO. But sir, there was a subcommittee. And when it comes to full council, only one or two questions can be asked. And the message I've took clearly from Mr. Webber today is that if the council appoints a CEO, all the council should be involved right from the beginning, because you don't hear what goes on in the subcommittee, and it was a divided decision. And I just feel that then we have to live with it. And what did I find? I found that if I wanted a meeting with the CEO and staff over a simple issue like Oropi, where they're developing a really fine community centre, and I'm told to put in a service request. I've never had such inadequate response from staff before. We have good staff, sir, and we've lost a lot of good staff under the previous CEO. And I think that it is tragic that we are criticised today because of our performance. But it isn't the performance. The staff have got to front up. And until Miriam came, Miriam Tarras, our acting CEO, she brought stability and calm to this organisation. I feel very sorry for you as mayor, having to work as you had to. But as for how this council performs, even, for example, buildings for the elderly out at Kati, they had to go to the Auditor General in order to make sure that the CEO followed policy, which he was not doing. So I think this has been a tragedy for this Western Bay, and it's a miracle that we've survived as well as we have. We've pulled back the annual increase, but sir, there's going to be change. There has to be change. You can't go on like this. Local government has got to do better. And I think the government reforms I welcome.
Councillor Mowbridge, I do
It is
caution you to
reflected.
keep to the topic of the annual report.
Well, it is, it will reflect the annual report, sir, because this annual report goes out to every ratepayer in the district, and they'll want to know where we're going in the future if we are back here. So my challenge to the future council is to question more, make sure that the new CEO, everybody is involved right from the start. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Mowbridge. Councillor Thwaites.
Thank you, Mayor Denia. I certainly did take pleasure in moving this today. This is my 17th annual report, and to me, this is the greatest report in terms of investment in our district that's ever occurred over those 17 years. I'd like to start off by thanking all the staff here present, and all the key staff are sitting either behind me or up front or the other side, and what they've achieved and turned out. And sometimes I think we were just running so fast, we were struggling to keep up with what we did. But what we've turned out at the end of the year is quite extraordinary, really, to invest $134 million. So hats off to them. Going forward, rates are obviously the topic of the day at the moment. We've got a central government threatening caps on districts, and the whole district and the elected representatives going forward will have to think about what level of extra that they want to put in, because that's the real driver of the rates. It's when you want little extra things over and above that aren't covered by the depreciation and the rest. That's what drives the rates increase. So I just add that to it with all the chatter about massive losses, but the answer is the surpluses. Anyone watching online or following this, please go to page 78 of the report and look at the cash flow. I've said it before at this exact meeting in my past. That is the key document. Follow the money. Follow the money. Sure, last year's money didn't quite come in. That was the big central government part that's going on out at Omokoro at the moment. Catch up occurred. And the second thing, sorry, I missed out about increased levels that drive rates. There's also the impact of climatic events that hit. And we still just got over Gabrielle now. Losing the first ever bridge in my term was to me, something that happens in Gisborne and Aporiki and Nelson. It doesn't happen in Western Bay, but it did. It caught up to us. So it does show the fragility that we live in. So I'm sorry to go on for a long time, but I think this document is worth speaking to because, like I said, what has been delivered has been quite extraordinary. And I think a little bit of tidying up in our regular reporting back to everyone, so there's not all these exaggerated claims about doom and gloom when you look at what's been delivered. So like I said, I think this is an outstanding document and a real investment in the Western Bay of Plenty District. $134 million of capital investment is quite extraordinary. Thank you. I won't be speaking at a final report. I think I've said enough now, so I'll sit back and be quiet.
Thank you, Councillor Thwaites. I see Councillor Sol wanted to speak. Councillor Sol.
Thank you, sir. Basically, I think what we've got to consider really is we're talking about the report. The stuff that's in it has been questioned and we've had clarification on it. It is what it is there. Some of it perhaps isn't so pretty. Some of it, the bulk of it actually reflects what's happened over the period, and that's where we're at. To me, we've certainly had some wake-ups. There have been areas that have not performed well within our processes, etc. But it encapsulates that, and so, sir, I endorse the report being received.
Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Joyce.
Thanks for that. It's obviously a much happier report than last year, which is a good thing. I mean, very practical things happened last year. We're building the roundabout at Mokoroa. The power code couldn't get round to removing the wires. So work pretty much stopped for a while. And, and like any building project, you have progress payments from your customer, and the customer in that case was the government, and they delayed things until we got ourselves back on track. It wasn't just the roundabout, it was some of the other projects in Mokoroa as well. So in a way, you need to look at these two annual reports together because that was a big swing. I do welcome the savings that have been made, and thank you to the interim CEO and the staff for biting hard. I think there's a bit more to be done yet, and we'll no doubt talk about that at the appropriate time. Yeah, there is an issue, a couple of issues here. One is that, as Councillor Thwaites has pointed out, we've caught up on a lot of the projects that got held up. Part of that was COVID. Part of it was perhaps not having the right systems in place to make sure all the work got done in the years we wanted to do. Brad, you've got good big shoulders, big shoes to fill because Cedric was very good at getting that spending out the door. But the simple fact is we can't add $60 million every year to debt. We can't. So there's going to be some hard conversation about those little extras that Councillor Thwaites is talking about because we can't keep doing that. Okay, the vast majority is Three Waters, but the people will still be paying that if it's part of a CCO or if it's part of a council. So we're going to have some hard conversations to come. We can't keep this trajectory of spending. We can't afford it as a community for ratepayers. The reserves have been run down. The reserves that were probably a little bit high because we couldn't get some of the work done during COVID and we were a bit slow to get going after, but we can't keep doing it. I am worried about support services. I'd like to see proper benchmarking done with other councils. The differences aren't as great as you might suspect. If you look at other councils, they cascade their costs to a similar proportion to us. They include their treasury in there, I've checked. So I think we do have a question to ask about support services. And I do know, obviously, that in this financial year, right at the end, and also the current financial year, there's been a lot of work to get those under control as well. So I appreciate that. So where are we? Well, we've got a lovely annual report, big surplus, but it's a one-off. We need to, whoever's around this table after the election is going to have to think very hard because our trajectory of spending is too high. And I'm sorry, unless we're going to, if we really want to get rates under control, and Councillor Thwaites already alluded to the fact the government may well make us, then we're going to have to make some big changes.
Thank you, Councillor Joyce. Started to go into. It's okay. It's okay. I'm realistic about what's going to happen in the last meeting of the year. So okay. I think I'll say a few words. I echo Councillor Thwaites' comments. This report shows we're getting stuff done. And I think that's very important. We all know that council can be slow to get things underway and get things achieved. And I'm really pleased that we have got there. We do have did have an infrastructure deficit, and this is part of getting on top of that. I take the point about debt increasing. It needed to, because that's the investment we're putting in. Rest assured, it is investment in what we need for our community. But also note that, like what done well aside, the debt is programmed to peak in a couple of years' time and then decrease. Debt is cyclical. That's just how these things work. So look, I commend the staff for all the work they've done this year, and finance staff for getting this annual report ready. And thank you very much for that. Miriam.
I'd also like to thank all the finance staff for the work done this year. It hasn't been easy. We've had lots of things to contend with, but actually have done a sterling job. And I just want to thank everyone from Adele through to Jonathan and all the finance team. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Henry.
Oh, I was just going to say the same. I concur with what Mayor and Miriam have said. It's not an easy job for you guys. And, you know, you've got to bring it to us and wait for our decision. And then if it changes, it's da-da-da. But over recent years, you've had more than that. You've had external, you've had central government applying stuff on you to your everyday business as usual. And I think you've managed that really, really well. And especially you, Adele, I know how many hours you've been up at. No, I don't, but I know you've weathered the night light doing the work, doing the mahi to get it through. So I just want to acknowledge that we realise what this means, the commitment that you've put into it. We come here and receive the documents, but you do the hard mahi behind the scenes. So thank you very much.
Okay, so with that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. So staying in the hot seat, Jonathan, maybe supported by Adele, we're moving on to the carry forwards for 2025 to 2026. And this is from page 276.
Thank you again. So the carry forward process is a process where we've got projects that have been commenced or not quite commenced during the 25 financial year that we're looking to carry forward into the 26 financial year. So the result of the carry forwards could be from performance of third parties. It could be impacted by weather, external funding, a lot of timing factors that require us to then carry the budgets of these projects forward into the new financial year. The approval process that we go through internally for this is that our budget holders will request a carry forward through to finance. They will be reviewed, collated, make sure we've got some sufficient justification for this carry forward, that these projects have got contracts in place. The report will then go up to ELT and the Chief Executive for that, for a review at that space. Further justification may then be necessary to receive from the business. And then we present the report that we have to you today, requesting some carry forward of these projects, budgets. So today we're seeking approval for 29.7 million of capital carry forwards and just under $500,000 of operational carry forwards. This is from the agenda item, just bringing it up. So in terms of the operational carry forwards, they're listed there. So they include in that representation space, it's so-called projects, operational projects, including the triennium spend. So we split that budget over the 2 years, and that depends on when our spend occurs. So with the elections coming now in the 26th financial year, we're requesting that those budgets move forward. And similarly for the other activities, it's where projects have started. We've originally budgeted for them in the 25 year and looking to carry forward the 472 of those operationals. into the 26 year. So our process for that, if approved, is that we would then complete a revised budget process and take that 472 into that revised budget space. Similarly for the capital carry forwards, so there's 28.7 million of capital carry forwards. Well over half, or just over half of that project relates to the Omokoroa structure pan space, where we've got 15.4 million. On the other side of that picture, as well as the brought forwards. So we've got 13.7 million of projects which were originally budgeted in a later year and have been completed earlier in the 2025 year. So the net picture we've got there is 15.4 million into the 26 year when we take into account earlier projects and then the 28 million of carry forwards. There's a detailed spreadsheet as part of the agenda, which provides the justification against each of those projects. And the main ones, as I referred to before, relate to the Omokoroa stage 1, stage 2, and the roundabout carry forward. There's some delays in that space, including the Powerco cable that was mentioned earlier, have resulted in a request there of 15.4 million, being the biggest project of those carry forwards requested to be carried forward into the 26 financial year. I'm happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Miriam would like to say a few words.
So to explain, councillors, normally the carry forward amount would not be this high, but because obviously we've got a lot of capital works that all came in at the last minute, that's why that 15 million at Omokoroa has sort of blown the number out. Generally, the carry forwards would not be this numerous, but we've got a big build year and lots of projects on, so that's why the numbers are large. The reason it comes through to council is because you're revising the budget, you need to approve this because we will recast the budgets based on this. We also check to make sure that these projects are funded. So they're not something that comes out where we haven't already budgeted for them.
Councillor Joyce.
Just a quick, in accrual terms, does this still sit within the just completed financial year, or does it actually go into the 26th year in terms of how you accrue for it in the accounts?
So the process we go through is we'll look through the accrual first. So if the work has been completed and invoiced, then it becomes an accrual. These are projects beyond that time frame, so where the work is July onwards.
Councillor Coxhead.
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things around the Omokoroa roundabout. So I recall the figure was maybe incorrectly, but 38 million originally, and now I see it's 43 million full cost. I'll just give you my three questions all at once, if you like. And the 15 million, is that funded by Kāinga Ora as well, the power, etc.? And third question is, what was it? I'll think about that. Answer the first two and I'll remember the third.
I'll ask Annalie to come over, and she's coming over now, and we'll answer those for you.
Hi, good. It's always been 38 million from Kāinga Ora. Actually, just from the central government, they put it under the Kāinga Ora umbrella because the intention of that money was to unlock development within Omokoroa. It's currently not with Kāinga Ora, it's now with NIF funding, which is still a central government initiative. But once the temporary roundabout is completed, it was an extra $5 million that we would get from NZTA. So that's how the $43 million figure is made up. As far as the $15 million are concerned regarding stage 1 and stage 2, we do have stage 1 is also included in that $43 million figure, or rather 38 million, because the 5 million from NZTA is limited to the roundabout. And then we've got $2 million funding for stage 2. The balance of that is funded through our financial contributions.
Can't remember the third, so thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Coxhead. Any further questions on this one? Councillor Murray-Benj.
The Omokoroa roundabout is a huge project, and we're very lucky that we've got experienced staff working with the community to actually get access so we can build some houses. What's the timeline now? Are we speeding up or are we slowing down?
as far as development is concerned. You mean from all of the developers coming on board now that we are actually building the roundabout? I don't have exact figures with me, but I do know that it is ramping up, especially along Prole Road. And then obviously also the Mokoroa village, retirement village. There's been quite a few houses built already. There's development that's going to occur along 29 Prole Road and 39 Prole Road. There's a subdivision going ahead, as well as 62 and 60 Prole Road. So there's quite a bit happening.
I'm conscious, but we're not trying to turn this into a projects and monitoring meeting, but do you have another question, Councillor Murray Bench?
The 4-laning from the state highway through to, or the roundabout through to the commercial area, timeline for that? Is it holding with its budget?
I should just leave it on. No, it is currently holding with its budget. It's important to note that all of those projects are currently under construction, and the completion dates are mid next year for stage 1 and stage 2, and we are projecting a completion date for the roundabout at April next year. So yeah, we're all on track.
Thank you. Councillor Sol next.
Sorry, sir, it is a little bit more of a projects and monitoring thing for me too. 3 of us councillors received an email from a person requesting about the project with the Waihi Beach stormwater and the Maranui Estate diversion. And as of yesterday, he hadn't had an answer, but to be honest, I don't think he actually asked staff. So do we know? I don't recall a direction being clear.
Okay, I think that's probably one to put as a service request or to ask staff offline rather than through this. But appreciate your working for your community. Thank you. Councillor Joyce next.
Sorry, it's just the funding sources, you've broken it down between where the money's coming from, but in the summary, the rather large number isn't broken down. So, I mean, do you have any idea off the top of your head from the finance team how much of that 28 million is rates funded? Because as we've already heard, a lot of it's government funded or FinCo funded, and I can't in my head very quickly go through because the numbers aren't always given. Any idea what the rates impact of that 28 million is? Because I think it's fairly small, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't done the calculation myself. So we've got the funding source, that's the funding source for the full project. So we'll also need to reconcile that back at a project level, but your assumption is correct that the rates impact of the capital carry forwards is limited.
And the operational carry forwards? Because that's still 0.5% of rates. Is that still also, is that more rates funded?
Through the mayor, I can answer that one. Where there's funding in that year, because it's rates funded, that rate funding comes through. So it's actually being funded. If you've got a project that's loan funded, you haven't actually undertaken the work, and the loan will only be taken out at the end of that financial year or as required during the year when the project's completed.
So if we've got retained rates funding, that'll chip a little bit off the interest bill.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a question for clarification for myself and anybody else who might be listening. I just want to understand what we're looking at. So my understanding of what this is that these are projects that we have approved, and then the carry forward in the green, that's not the total cost of projects, say that's just what we're saying that we need to take forward to next year? Yeah,
that's correct, yes.
Okay, then it's not a question, but the only thing I would say is that some of these costings are huge.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Councillor Daly.
Just back to the Mokoroa roundabout, sorry, but can you just, have you got any indicated timeframes from NZTA? Or, well, I know it's really a government decision, but TNL2 is, how much of this roundabout we're building at the moment will be retained? Has there been any discussion about a full interchange versus retaining the current roundabout? because the interchange provides significant extra cost, and there has been some talk about whether this project was actually maybe a waste of money.
I'll let Annalie answer, but before we go there, I think the interplay between the roundabout and the interchange has been the subject of a lot of discussion, and it's certainly not all wasted money. But I'll let Annalie perhaps give a more full answer.
Well, I think we took the initiative to start building the temporary roundabout because NZTA had been promising or trying to deliver the project for years. And it was obviously becoming a safety concern more than anything else, which is why we secured the funding to build it. And the intent is, or the thinking behind it is that roundabout would have a life span of about 10 years, depending on when TNL Stage 2 come online. We still don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I don't think they have completed their design. They are still reviewing it. There was thought, obviously, as to what we could do to retain the asset since we are investing so much money into it. Doesn't seem to be possible, and my understanding is that we'll lose half of that roundabout. But that roundabout will be important when TNL is actually being constructed, because the traffic will be diverted onto some of our roundabout while they are constructing actual TNL Stage 2.
Yeah. And it's also important to realise that the 43 million dollars, that's not just for the Omokoro roundabout, it's for the next roundabout along and 4-laning. So that's
for Stage 1.
That's
too,
actually
yes.
the majority of the cost.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, I mean, doing this work now is not a waste of money. It's actually a preparation. It will aid the traffic flows in the future when the interchange is built. So, I just wanted to get that out in the open and clarify it for my own thinking as well.
Yeah. Miriam?
Really, you should look at it as enabling infrastructure. So we wanted to progress the development of Omokoro, and that was one of the blockages in the way. It was also a health and safety issue. Obviously, if you drive that road, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it was very necessary, and it wasn't clear when NZTA or the government were going to come to the party. So we needed to make sure that the peninsula could continue to develop.
Okay. I've got Councillor Coxhead next. I mean, not keen to turn this into a discussion about the Omokoro roundabouts, but Councillor Coxhead.
Well, this is the third question. I think, Adele, you said in various emails we've exchanged, NZTA pay their subsidies once the work's completed, but the KO funding or subsidy that is paid throughout the project?
Yes, right. Yes, as we reach certain milestones.
So all other subsidies are paid in that manner?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce again?
Just a quick question, because it was said at the time, and this has been discussed a lot around the table, so it should be a surprise to nobody, but Miriam's talked about, the CEO's talked about enabling, but it's also the land purchase will not be lost because of the, when they turn the roundabout into an interchange. The services relocated won't be lost when they turn that into an interchange. So, and I gather also council staff even raised the idea with NZTA at some stage that we just do the interchange first, according to the former operations manager. Getting nods as answers because it was a question. We've discussed a lot around this table. It should be a surprise to nobody that a lot of the money being spent will be still needed when the interchange comes along.
Thank you. Councillor Murray Bench.
I don't suppose our senior staff who weren't here before know that that work to develop Omokoro to 12,000 people was going to be 4-lane to Omokoro by 2015. Such was the relationship we had with the government.
We're talking about carry forwards here.
So we know, sir, that it's really important that we get on with this. And so if the carry forwards have to be done, then so be it, because we've got to get that completed, sir. So it was related, sort of.
Just about. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Murray Benj. Okay, so I'm looking for, we've got 3 recommendations there: receive the report, low significance, and that we approve those capital and operational carry forwards. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Sol, Councillor Murray Benj. Is there any further debate on this one? No, I'll put the motion therefore. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. I'd like to do the next item and then we'll break for morning tea. So that is the item 10.3 from page 282, and that is the right of way easement in favour of lots 1, 2, 3 and 6. And that's basically in Munro Green Lane Reserve. So welcome, Wendy, and perhaps you can take us through this one.
Morning, councillors and your worship. I am Wendy O'Neill. I am presenting this report on behalf of my colleague Joanne Hin, who has left the country for really good reasons. The report relates to 2 actions required by council. The first one in respect of a request from Waka Kotahi as part of the Takatimu North Link. They are removing the legal and physical access of 3 property owners just back from Te Puna Quarry Road and Snodgrass Road. And as a result, they've approached council to request a right-of-way easement under section 48 of the Reserves Act for those landowners to be able to access physically and legally in and out of their property. Waka Kotahi will be paying all costs in respect to the creation of the easement. They will be paying us consideration of over $7,000, plus they will be granting us access to 2 additional pieces of land to help link through the Munro Green Lane Local Purpose Reserve to provide some more connectivity through to Puna Quarry Road. The second request in respect of the Local Purpose Reserve, it was vested through subdivision under the Reserves Act, so it needs to be classified as a local purpose Green Lane Reserve. So the second part of the report is asking that we classify this as a local purpose reserve. Happy to answer any questions. I believe the diagrams are quite specific and helpful.
Thank you, Wendy. Look, this looks pretty straightforward, but I'll see if there's any questions. Councillor Thwaites. Okay, moved Councillor Thwaites. You seconding it? Councillor Murray Benj. Any debate? No. Okay. Oh, do you want to speak?
Just grateful that we've got careful people who have worked their way through these difficult predicaments. And I'm sure that the local ratepayers will be absolutely grateful for the work that you have done and the results that will come from this. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray Benj. So with that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against?
Thank you, councillors. That was like speed dating.
Now, maybe we should go on while we're on a roll, but no, we'll have morning tea now. So we'll come back at 11 o'clock. Thank you. We'll restart. So we're on page 292 and item number 10.4, and this is the recommendatory report from the Waihi Beach Community Board about Wilson Road car parking light. So I know we have Callum here to talk to us about this one, so please take that one.
Hi.
I'm standing in for Sam this morning. Unfortunately, she can't be here because she's sick. So may I take the report as read and go straight to questions?
Wow.
Callum, the only question I had was that has anyone talked to neighbours, or do we have any understanding whether it'll create a nuisance for the neighbours?
I don't know the answer to that question, but LED lamps that we use don't really have a lot of overspill. They're not like the old sodium lamps, so and we're only proposing two lights, so it's unlikely to be an issue for the adjacent residents.
Right, okay. Councillor Joyce?
I would gently point out that one of the committee board members is a neighbour, so you'll wear it if he does. No, they're going to be, I think they're going to be motion detecting, so that will also reduce the thing. My question really is a general question, particularly since you've been parachuted into the seat today. So solar powered lights as a road tool, the limitation was the lack of lux, right? They weren't producing enough power to meet street lighting standards. Now I know this is a car park, but you know, is it getting to the point where we can use this in more places, because it would save a lot of money with our biggest non-staff bill in the council is power.
Yep, we're using solar powered lights on the road network. So you know, what is proposed for the car park is no different to what we are already using on the road network.
Councillor Mary Bench?
So I'm happy to move the recommendations when you're ready.
Okay, when you're ready. Councillor Henry? Pete, mic on, please.
I'm happy to second it. And
I'll just say, are there any other questions, first of all? No? Okay. No, I think it would be, I appreciate your request, but given it's a Waihi Beach thing, I thought I'd give Councillor Henry the honour of doing that. Okay. So Councillor Murray Benj, if you want to second that, okay. So do you want to speak to your motion, Councillor Henry?
okay, yes, there's been a lot of work around, and I think we've done a few graders out there to support the business sector down there with actually providing more parking and as we talked just then about parking with lighting, so people feel more comfortable there in the evening, and it takes a load off the main street that and we actually are getting a few more parks on the other side too, and that's going to be quite a connectivity around there for the additional parking in Edinburgh Street when the bridge goes across there, and there's parking in that area there. So all in all, great outcome for the community, and I'm very pleased to be able to approve this today.
Thank you. And just clarifying that it's recommendation 3 to approve rather than not approve. Just to make sure we're absolutely clear on that. So Councillor Sowell, did you want to speak?
Yes, sir. Totally approve this. It's you couldn't be in community patrols and not support a situation where you can improve security and people's safety. It's also an area that at times I've had to walk in at night, and I'm still a little tentative at times about what holes may be in the car park that I might step into. So all these things are just going to make it far more usable and friendly towards the people that come into Waihi Beach. So I certainly will support 1, 2 and 3 approve.
Thank you, Councillor Sowell. Councillor Joyce?
Just want to pick up on something that Councillor Henry was saying. I mean, parking is an acute issue in Waihi Beach Shopping Centre. So the community board is to be commended for its hard work with the support of staff and getting that sorted. A couple of people have asked why we don't seal the car park. And I thought I'd just address that. I mean, it's actually a very low-lying wet area. And one of the issues we have, or in a number of areas in Waihi Beach, obviously, is the increasing number of hard surfaces that affect stormwater runoff. So if we put a hard surface in there, it could actually create some stormwater issues. So quite apart from the fact that it's slightly cheaper, obviously, not to seal it, there's also good environmental reasons for the car park not being sealed.
Thank you, Councillor Joyce. I mean, I did understand it was quite a lot more expensive to seal it, but anyway. So I think, Councillor Mybench.
Sir, I think this is such a practical thing and so logical. But I think one of the two things I thought of was the safety issue. There's nothing worse than a car park that's not lit. But the second point is that there is no way that you can floodlight the whole area. You can floodlight a car park and you can control where you put your lights so that it actually reflects the area. The tennis courts have the same challenge, and making sure that they're not lighting the whole community. You focus the lights where they're needed on the car park itself, and we're capable of doing that. And I think it's a practical thing and fully supportive.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll put the motion then. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Callum. Moving on to the Resource Management Act reform submissions that we made. I don't know if Tracy wants to say anything here, but it should be fairly straightforward. Okay, so we'll try to run through these. So we've got the recommendation 1 to receive the report, and secondly it's five submissions that were made. Did anyone have any questions on these? One assumes not. In which case, I'm happy to move those recommendations. Is there a seconder for me? Councillor Henry. There's no further debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. And then actually another submission, but not on our own reform. This is one on the Local Government Systems Improvements Amendment Bill. Again, the one that was submitted just quite recently. So 2 recommendations there: that receive the report and also receive and note the submission made. Any questions on this one? Councillor Mybench?
No, it's a bit late to do that, so I'll just happy to support, sir, whichever you move or second.
Would you like to move it, Councillor Mybench?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Daly, thank you. Any debates? Councillor Coxhead. Please do, yeah.
And I didn't have time to look up the changes in the Act, but governance principles, we are generally supportive of the 2 new governance principles. We feel that a collaborative approach to council's agenda, policy and decision making is an important part of being an effective governance team. What are the 2 new governance principles?
Do you want to speak to that?
Sorry, Councillor, I can't recall them exactly off the top of my head, but I'm happy to check them for you. Yeah.
I think it was roughly around the working in a sort of positive and collaborative way. I think that was roughly the tenor of it. If that's, yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Mybench, seconded by Councillor Daly. I assume there's no more questions. Oh, Emily, did you want to read them out?
Yes, sorry, I've just referred to the slides from the workshop on the 15th of August. So it's around the local authority fostering the free exchange of information and expression of opinions by elected members. And also the local authority should foster the responsibility of its elected members to work collaboratively to set the local authority's agenda, determine its policy and make decisions on behalf of its communities.
So I would like to think we do both of those things pretty well already, so I'm supportive of that. Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Okay. Right, so moving on to the next report, which is called End of Triennium 22-25, and that's on page 349. And this basically sets out the interregnum stuff, isn't it?
Through you, your worship, this is a standard report required. It gives me authority to continue and make decisions where required during the interregnum period. So it's just a formality, but just to let you know, in the first ordinary meeting of council, any of those decisions would be tabled, so you would know what they were.
And in my experience, there's been very few decisions that are made. So there are 6 recommendations there. Do I have a mover and seconder for those? Councillor Joyce, as a seconder, Councillor Sol. Any speakers? No? Yeah, Councillor Joyce.
Following on from the former mayor's comments, I'm very comfortable having our interim CEO carry these powers.
Thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So now we move on to Mayor's report, and just note the comments at the end there about the end of the triennium, and I'm sure we've all read it, but basically thanking you all, our community board members and staff, for all their support during the 3 years, and also acknowledging all those who've come into chambers and given us feedback and supported what we do or not. Councillor Henry.
I'd just like to make a comment about you, James, and I'd like to acknowledge how hardworking you are. I don't know how you do it, but you are extremely hardworking and you cover the district very, very well. And I'm very pleased to see that, and that you are out there and about for your people. And I have to say, on a personal note, you are well read and you retain that information. And in my time of working with you, I have relied on you because I know that you remember what you've read. I don't. I'm more surface level, and I have really relied on that from you when we've been in meetings. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. That's very, very kind words, and make me blush slightly, but thank you very much. Thank you. Would anyone else like to beat that? No, I really am blushing. Anyway, I'm happy to take any other questions. No? Okay, so I'm happy to move my report. There's a seconder for me. Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour, would you like to second it? Go for it. I just thought as a deputy mayor, I might as well. Assuming there's no debate on this, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Alrighty, so the last item in the open part of the agenda is it's actually only information for receipt, the Audit New Zealand engagement letters. So we're not seeking a resolution there. So unless there's any comment on those particularly.
Through your worship, these are standard letters that come from our auditors as part of the audit arrangement, and just stipulate how we will work with the auditors and the information we will provide, and just general details like that. So this is just standard wording.
Okay, so we'll move to exclude the public in just a second, but I do want to say that we'll have the confidential section, and then we'll come back into, when it's done, we'll come back into the open and have the valedictory speeches. So just highlight that.
I'm not leaving. The reporters here to pick up these great words. Can we possibly change the order?
Okay, is there a feeling that we want to do those now?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, we did have people coming. No, so she's coming.
Okay, let's go with the original plan then. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why it's at the end. Yeah.
Okay, so we need we need a resolution to exclude the public with the exception of Lorraine, Kendrick and Mary Hill for agenda item 12.4 regarding the wastewater treatment plant, whose specialist knowledge will assist the council to make a decision. So can I have a mover and seconder to exclude the public, please? Councillor Sol,